Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 Black Women Photographers Summit. We are so excited to kick it off with the one and only Tonika, the genius Lewis Johnson, joining us live from Jamaica. This summit is powered by Adobe Lightroom, so thank you, Adobe Lightroom, for your continued support. I'm so excited to be in conversation with you, Tonika. And for those who don't know, I'm just going to do a little bio about Tonika for you can get to know her work. So wherever you're joining us from, again, we're so excited to kick things off with Tonika Johnson. She is a photographer, social justice artist, community advocate, and lifelong resident of Chicago's South Side neighborhood of Englewood. Tonika's work challenges the narratives often told about Black communities, offering instead a deeply nuanced portrait from within them. Her projects, including From the Inside, Everyday Rituals, Folded Map, and Inequity for Sale, have redefined what it means to use art as a tool for both beauty and justice. And of course, we are celebrating her most recent achievement, being named a 2025 MacArthur Genius Fellow, one of the highest honors recognizing creativity and impact across disciplines. Tanika, welcome and huge congratulations
Thank
again.
you. Thank you so much.
You know, I have to start with the latest news. So,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, the MacArthur Fellowship is often called the Genius Grant, hence why I called her Tanika Genius Johnson. And it's awarded to people whose creativity inspires social change. Tanika, how did you feel when you got that call, and what does that recognition mean to you personally and Inglewood as a community?
Gosh, when they call you a month before announcing it nationally. So you only have a month to process this big news. You only have one person you're allowed to tell, which I have two kids. So I had to tell them, "Y- you all are going to be the one person. You're going to listen to it at the same time, and I'm going to tell both of you." Um, And, it's such a surprise when they call you. Like, I was literally in my car on the way to a meeting, and they tried their hardest to get me to, like, pull over, and I was being so difficult. I was like, "No, I'm fine. I'm in traffic. I'm on my way to." They're like, "Oh, okay. Well, we just wanted to make sure you're okay." I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm in traffic." And they also tricked me. They said they were calling me to talk about a project. And I said, "Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we could work on something with the, MacArthur Foundation. Wonderful." And when they basically told me they tricked me, it's not about a project. They wanted to tell me that I was one of the 2025 MacArthur Fellows. I literally responded, "You lying." And they started laughing. I was like, wait, 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 that, that who had received it. Every you know, it was like, "Oh, so Jones, you said you talk," and they say, "Yes, that one." I said, "Oh, okay." So, needless to say, I did pull over. I did pull over. I was like, "Okay, I gotta take a minute." Um, but yeah, it was really exciting personally, but given the work that I do, which is about, um, amplifying the history of my neighborhood and other Black neighborhoods across the country just like it. Um, it really was just like receiving a microphone to the history of my neighborhood. And so when people learn about my work, they're going to learn about my neighborhood. They're going to learn about how everything that they have mostly heard about my neighborhood, Chicago South Side, and other Black neighborhoods is rooted in uh, ignorance and incomplete truths. And so this recognition is not only a personal milestone, but it really is just like a badge of honor for neighborhood. My neighborhood is my neighborhood is what gave me the opportunity to have the observation that would lead me to create this body of work. The residents, neighbors, the people I grew up with, they're the ones that encouraged me with each project, when I didn't feel like I was a genius, they were the ones
Mhm,
that encouraged me and reminded me that, it might not be a museum that's inviting you to exhibit. It might not be,
mhm.
um, your work might not be the type of work that sells, but it's important to us and we want you to keep going. So it really means a lot to me, to be able to make my neighborhood proud, because we are a neighborhood in Chicago that is like the poster child of everything wrong. So just even this recognition, if people Google my neighborhood, this recognition will pop up and it will at least disrupt what people are getting trained to believe about my neighborhood. This pop up and they'll be like, "Well, hold on now. Oh, this is the same neighborhood that people like, wait." So I love that it it interferes with this negative narrative uh that is being told about my neighborhood and other Black neighborhoods. And so, yeah, I'm a little mascot for my neighborhood right now, and I don't mind.
Yes, no, I absolutely love that. And first, I love that they tricked you when they called you because it's so funny because with our grant fund, we do the same thing. This is the only year that I didn't trick our recipients, yourself included. All the previous years, and I gotta think of a new way to trick people next time because now I'm sharing my secret. But I would send them an email say, "Hey, we have a client looking to hire you. Can we get on a call to do a quick vetting for you?" And then that's when I would
That's
break the
so
news.
cute. Oh my gosh, I
Oh,
know
I
those
absolutely
responses.
love doing that because their reactions, like, they're not surprised, and I'm like, "I'm so sorry, like, I'm not calling you for a client."
I love it.
It would be priceless with the reaction, so I absolutely love that they do the same thing. Now with this fellowship, it celebrates originality and promise. You kind of already touched on this, but I would love for you to expand a little bit more. How do you see this moment shaping the next phase of your work, both artistically and as an advocate for your community?
Yes. So, uh, with my body of work, each project has gotten bigger in the sense of, uh, expansive, what I'm attempting to calculate the project. Sometimes that requires contracting other people to do things. Inequity for sale. Uh, I created landmarkers in front of homes or placed landmarkers in front of homes that have been legally stolen from aspiring Black people. I'm not an architect. I don't know how to like design a landmarker. So you have to partner with people who are experts in other mediums to help um, your vision come to reality. And so with each project, uh, it's included other people who are experts, and you have to pay those people. Sometimes they gift you their expertise, but uh, being a creative, being a Black woman, being someone from a neighborhood who honors, uh, the reciprocation of resources. Of course, I would want to be able to pay people for their expertise. So this recognition along with the award will allow me to unpause of the project that we're attracting people to actualize what I'm envisioning. So now I won't have to rely on waiting for a grant or applying for a grant. This affords me the opportunity to kind of move forward to do my next project without waiting on funding to be able to do so. So I'm really looking forward to my next project that I've been, researching for 2 years and just trying to figure out different ways to make it happen. But having access to money also allows you to even imagine more,
Absolutely.
because now you're like, "Oh, now it's no limit on, "Oh, okay, because I can
Yes.
put as much money as I want into my
Mhm.
work." So, uh, if I need to do so, and then also the recognition will allow me to access people, that I probably would not have necessarily had immediate access to. So, and that's a critical part of not only my work, bridging divides,
Mhm.
demonstrating how uh, resources and information are exist only in certain networks, and so this recognition is kind of bridging that divide for me as well. And so I'm excited to be able to share this journey with creators who are interested, especially for photographers. Um, you know, Photography is my first love, will always be my first artistic love and medium. But as a photographer, I want other photographers to know that if you're interested in incorporating other mediums, like it doesn't make you less of a photographer. Photography is always the foundation of all of my. It's helped me plan how I want to incorporate the, the me- photographers. You know, don't be scared to try or include other media. Uh, Looking to be able to make the
I'm so sorry, your audio is cutting out a little bit right there, but, um, yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Try it again right quick.
I said I'm really happy
Yes,
that
much better, thank you.
is it perfect? Okay.
No, but I wanna go back to what you just said a little bit, ago. I think there's so much power in what you said about just, like, the emphasizing about the ideas that you have as creatives, and obviously you need funding most of the
Mhm,
time to execute said ideas, but you didn't give up on that idea and project. I feel like so
mhm,
often creatives, we sit on ideas that we have, and because you apply for a grant or whatever scholars, residency, whatever, and you don't get the grant, and then you feel, as you as totally normal to feel this way, you feel a little defeated in that sense,
mhm.
right? And then you
Yeah.
just table that shelf that idea. You just like, "Okay, I didn't get the grant, and so now I'm not doing this project, but you said you've been waiting on this for 2 years now?" I think that's just
Yeah.
remarkable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but also enjoying the process of researching it, and knowing that I wait for it to happen, but never letting go of the ideas. And then as a creative, you know, you're gonna have another idea, and maybe the other idea is something that you can get done without significant funding. So the number of ideas as a creative is just limitless. So even when you feel one project is not advancing the way that you want, or if you can't get the funding to lean on other projects, then that you can move forward so you don't feel stagnant. And so that's what has always helped me. Definitely have like 2 to 3 projects in rotation at different levels of progression. So I don't feel like, "Oh, well, just 'cause it's moving along doesn't mean, you know, my other my other projects or my other interests." So I would definitely suggest that, you know, um, lean into the other aspects of a project that might not be able to get funding right now, because it does unlock new ideas about what you could do when you
Mhm.
know, don't have funding to do a specific thing. So, I do love that, thinking of other ways to get a project done, have impact, because without this, fellowship award, I already had an alternative. I was like, "Okay, well, if I can't create this
Mhm.
actual physical map model of my neighborhood, uh, what else can I do to really have that same emotional impact?"
Right.
So, sometimes the barriers unlock a new pathway to see your
Mhm.
work.
I absolutely love that. Melissa Randall says, "Love hearing all of this as a fellow Chi-Town Englewood native. Kudos.
Hey!
So
Hey!
happy for you and the light you are setting on the community. I love that, like you said, you are a mascot now for your city, for your neighborhood. I love it. You built an extraordinary career as a photographer, as an social justice artist, as all the different hyphenates that you are. But as a Black woman and a Black woman photographer in a field that historically, has not included us, what has it been like navigating that space, and how have you claimed your place with it?
Mhm. Well, first off, being a woman in the field is challenging, as we all know. Being a Black woman in the field, is definitely another layer of challenge. What has helped me navigate, uh, operating in a male-dominated field, especially early on when my primary focus was, photojournalism. So there was 2 things that I had to really think in order to serve my love and passion for photography. I did not want to be a photojournalist. I went to college in '97, and so I say that because it's a very different time in the field of photojournalism. Journalism schools were still making aspiring journalists aware of "If it bleeds, it leads." Like, that is a slogan, that is a saying that was very true, because journalism is one thing, but broadcasting is also part of entertainment. And, news, they have to get ratings. It is a literal show. And so, knowing that background, um, I knew that as a young photographer interested in a photojournalist, given the nature of how our news cycle goes, how it's reported on Black neighborhoods, mostly covering crime, I knew that I was going to uh, be reporting, or not reporting, photographing uh, neighborhoods that are covered uh, for crime coverage. And being from Englewood, I knew that I was more than likely going to go right back to my neighborhood covering, photographing. I, you know, it's really and decided that that isn't the route that I wanted to go. Um, but in doing that, going to college for photography and photojournalism, uh, helped me understand the importance of learning how to use cameras to be able to communicate a image that I did like, knowing the settings I need. So being, uh, as close as you can to being a master in your craft allowed me to have the confidence that you definitely need to operate in a male-dominated field where your your work could, you know, be interrogated or criticized in a way. And so me having that training allowed me to not care about, uh, criticisms or, a specific way someone might think of my work, look at my work, or try to demean my work. It never really bothered me because I was like, no, I know how I have an eye. I went to school for this. I know how to use my camera. I know what equipment I need. I don't need to have the equipment conversation all the time with male photographers because sometimes they try to narrow in on that. I'm like, look, I know how to use this basic camera because I know how to change my settings to get the image that I want. I don't need all of these lenses for the specific thing that I'm trying to do. So I had to deal with a lot of that in the early 2000s, especially because technology was changing. So because it's a male dominated film field, a lot of the conversations ended up on equipment. And I was like, no, that's not the focal point here. And so having that training and having the support of my neighborhood, that really helped me build the confidence that I needed to be able to navigate uh, a male dominated field, but more importantly for me to figure out that I didn't want to operate exist within traditional photojournalism. And sometimes that's hard to try to figure out, especially when you're in a field that doesn't allow you the opportunity to freely explore. So, yeah, community is really important. Me knowing other amazing Black women photographers who are masters, me being introduced and supported by male photographers who uh, have a lot of experience. So, really having a good Black photography community was really critical to uh, me allowing myself the freedom to explore something beyond photojournalism.
Now, your projects from everyday rituals to photo map all reframe how people see the South Side, not from the lens of deficit, but of community, creativity, and care. What advice would you have for those who maybe want to tell the stories of their own communities, their own neighborhood, with the same level of care and intention that you put in? Because just because you're from, the neighborhood may not mean you have the trust of the neighborhood, right? So, what advice would you have for those who want to build trust, who want to be able to tell the same stories in their communities?
I would say do it because who else gonna document our stories? Who else is gonna photograph our neighborhood? We can't leave it up to the media. It's upon us. Do it. And to go back to the late 90s and early 2000s again, which is why I really want to emphasize the importance of us documenting our neighborhoods. A lot of the photography, even historical photography of uh, not only the city that I live in, but all of our cities, that came from staff photographers. And staff photographers were more were in more of an abundance uh, back in the day, 25 years ago. Now, it isn't common to have a photography department in uh, your local media. Who is going to document it? We have to be the ones who are the image makers that create the work that can get reported on, because it will be an absence. And I saw that absence, that gap, fast approaching, uh, being in school for photography in the late 90s because everything was becoming digital. Uh, Large print publications were losing consumers because things were going digital. So me seeing that and knowing, okay, photography staff is getting laid off in all of the major media outlets in my city, and I know that that was happening in other across the country because of the digitization. And so I said, okay, well, who is going to document my neighborhood? These photographers, these staff photographers who traditionally done it. They stay around after they've covered a story. They document neighborhoods. Those are the photos that end up in museums or archived in the library. I was like, who is going to do that? Oh my gosh. And then also, sometimes you get trained to think that in order to do important photography work, it has to be in another country. I know I was trained to think that if you really want to do a great uh, documentary photography work, it has to be in another country covering their issues, uh, you know, and I just didn't to document my neighborhood because I knew the history of my neighborhood was just as important as issues going on in the countries that the documentary photography field sector, if you will, uh was trying to say. And so I just encourage all of you all to start with your community, whether that's your family, whether that's your neighborhood, whatever community you feel you're a part of that has been significant in your life. Uh, Document it, tell those stories because who else is trained to do it? The beautiful thing about photography is, I know y'all got it, so you can do it. You don't have to wait for funding.
Start with
You
what
got
you have, where you are.
Yes, yes, you all are amazing image makers. That's all it takes. But,
Mhm.
just to provide the
Oh,
that
sorry, can you bring the mic closer again?
hope, just with the urgency, provide the context, the urgency. We're the ones that document particular communities. We cannot rely on
Mhm.
media outlets, especially since they're in a constant state of transformation, making
Mhm.
you know, for now, and that's a lot. Which means you can't, as a media publication, you can't cover everything. It's our stories will get put on the back burner. They will get lost. They and we have to. So I encourage you. Any idea you have, just go do it because it will push the culture, our culture forward, ensure that it's documented, ensure that future creative photographers will have a place to find it. So, yeah, I can't stress that enough. Please do, please do. Uh, you deserve to be able to tell that story and
Mm.
share that gift of that narrative with the rest of the world.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I wanna, like, talk a little bit about, um, the Englewood Arts Collective, which you are a co-founder of, and, the Resident Association of Greater Englewood. How does collaboration and creating art with, rather than about your community, shape your creative process?
Oh my gosh. It unlocks new ways to think about community building. I often have to remind people that the only way I have been able to create this body of work is because I am from this neighborhood. I still live in this neighborhood. So I have to remind people, artists, yes, I focus on these issues, but I have to let people know I'm a resident of this neighborhood first. And I'm not saying you have to live in the neighborhood that either you grew up in or that's important to you, but that si how it situates me is I always have access to, uh, people that could potentially be part of my project, that I could share their insight on. So the community is really, my resource. It's one thing to set aside time on a project when you live in the neighborhood that you're documenting, that you grew up in, that your grandmother migrated just seeing, on this block, like, I her about, the idea I have. So any opportunity, not any opportunity, but any moment in your, everyday navigation of life in your neighborhood turn into a people living in your project or turn into community engagement. So it allows me to dive or dig further into specific issues because I am focused squarely on my neighborhood. And so that has been a benefit, uh, mutual mutually beneficial aspects of my work for me and my neighborhood. It makes it easier for people to agree to participate in, what could come off as like weird projects. But because I run into people in the store, because they see me in the neighborhood and then they'll see me on TV, it adds a level of credibility that they're like, okay, I trust you. I trust you. I know how you talk about me. I know how you're going to frame this issue. So that level of continuous trust building uh, only allows you to create more because the more trust you have, uh, support you will get in your neighborhood, and trust is the essential part to storytelling. You know, not me just interviewing somebody, also for them to know they have a history of how I'm going to share their story with the public so they trust me. They know I know what I tell her is going to be framed in the right way when she starts to share with our public. And so being able to repeat that over and over again um, just allows for better storytelling. And so really is just a beautiful relationship. Uh, and I would also encourage people, documenting and wanting to understand your own neighborhood, your own community is rewarding for the neighborhood and for you.
Mm, so important. You know, I'm always just impressed about how you're able to take complex systems, housing discrimination, segregation, disinvestment, into accessible visual stories. How do you approach making that history felt and not just understood?
All starts uh, from within all of us because we, unfortunately, a lot of us from the neighborhoods that are disconnected and forced to believe our neighborhoods are at a deficit or forced because we don't have access to a lot of the immediate access to a lot of the uh, intellectual interest we have because of being from a disinvested neighborhood. You can possibly feel like you aren't an expert. You possibly feel like my observations uh, are not as important as someone else's. And so really knowing that there is value in questions that you have, there is value in ideas that you have, there is value in the neighborhoods you live in. It really helps you also have the confidence to say, I also have a solution. It's like I live my neighborhood, I know what my neighborhood, and in order for you to feel like the things that you desire and are interested in are important to your neighborhood, uh, you you have to know history so it can validate how brilliant you already are. It's, uh, a lot of our own issues forever. However, because it doesn't have the platform to be broadcasted or to be viewed as a legitimate solution to large systemic issues, we often feel like, we aren't solving things, but we are every day. It's on a very hyper local level that we're doing it. And so you really have to uh, get exposed to people who are a reflection of you so you can have the confidence to know that I made an observation in my own community. I think it should be done this way, and I could possibly be right. And, there's a lot of personal investigation you have to do to get to a point to say, "No, no, I know I'm right about this. I know that if we put art here, it is going to help our community. It is going to make people feel better because I know I would have liked that when I was younger." Uh, so you really have to see your neighborhood and your communities as valuable so you can uplift your own self to say, okay, well, I might not be an expert in urban planning, but I'm an expert of my life. I know that we need more
Yes.
art centers. I know that we need more trash cans. I know, like, we live the lives that people study in Harvard. We
Mm,
live we walk on the streets that they learn about in urban planning. So, we are inherently actual geniuses. We don't
yes.
have to go to school to learn, what has impacted our own lives. People are studying
Mhm.
us, and as a result, we hold the answers. So,
Oh,
that's why I love being able to remind, youth and people from our Black communities, like, you know how much they study in us? They know way more than them already. By the time you're 14,
mhm.
15 years old, you already know the of a thing. Like, not know theory, know because you've lived
You've lived it.
by 5 years old, we know more about peace, planning, education, budgeting, navigating the cities, divides. We know
Mhm.
way most of the time, 14 or 15. I had to when I was, doing folded map, I had to that's why I did the folded map film to remind people, yeah, these observations came from the brain of a 13-year-old Black girl because I had to go out of my neighborhood to access resources, just like many other Black youth. And with that commute comes knowledge that some of you adults
Mhm.
who are non-Black will never get because you're told to not come to our neighborhoods, but we have to go to yours. So,
Mm,
yeah, no, we have the answers, and I hope that my body of work shows, uh, young creatives and young Black people from disinvested neighborhoods, uh, you know more than you think you do, and
mhm.
more than other people. Um, thank you to my TED Talk.
Listen, I will go to your TED Talk any day of the week, truly. I will. I wish I could, like, do, like, wake up affirmations with Tanika and just have you pour in this life into me. Cause yes, you hit it on the nail right there. So, so powerful, and as a follow-up to that, like I said, these are such heavy themes, but how do you sustain yourself creatively and emotionally while doing such deeply rooted work? How do you make sure you're not pouring from an empty cup?
Doing things like this. I co I'm one of the 10 co-founders of Englewood Arts Collective. Englewood Arts Collective is really a collective of 10 of my other, well, 9 of my other brilliant friends who are creatives in other different mediums. And, we curate joy for our neighborhood and around the city so people can get to know our neighborhood in the way that they've been forced to not be able to engage with it. Time well, because when you work on uh, such hard, hurtful, historical issues, you have to balance that out. And in Equal Arts Collective, where I balance that out, I say no to things. I say no. I got real uh, uh, sick of things that I say yes to. Uh, I get regular massages. I don't make people take me outside the house when I don't want to be. I enjoy my summer. I- My life is self care and the work that I do. And I love, I'm a nerd. I love reading and researching. So that doesn't feel, uh, and also the beauty of it is, it's never about the hurtful history only. You know, it's about all of the other ways of learning how that has not been documented. So even though I'm about the ways in which aspiring homeowners that have been stolen from in the 50s and 60s, it still allows me to be people who are Black people who are 70 years old that did that like actually stayed the course, stayed in the neighborhood, stayed a homeowner. Uh, it allowed introduced to what they did. That is so inspiring, you know. So it's not only about me and the hurtful, but knowing that hurtful history gives you the foundation to see all the ways which we're brilliant, even through all of the everything we've gone through. We still create a community. We still create culture. We still so it really I love getting to know the history because it makes me value uh our Black history even more. I'm like, man, we cold.
Yes.
Like like you can't tell me. So, you know,
Yes.
having that balances it out. It never feels like I'm only uh learning about the hurt because
Mm,
every time you learn about the hurt, you also through history learn about the brilliance. Like, man,
yeah.
it really did a big one. Those
Mm,
allowing history to show me all the things that we get taught.
mm. Um, one of the things I was talking to you about before we got on here was how I'm so excited for like the work that you'll create, especially with this new funding that you mentioned about being a MacArthur Genius Fellow. For those who don't know, Tanika is also one of our 2025 grant recipients with our partnership with Nikon, our grant fund with Nikon, where she received a new Nikon Z8 with also two lenses. Um, I am just so excited for what you'll create with this.
Uh,
Can you give folks, real quick, like any advice you would have for those who are, trying to apply to things, whether it's fellowships, because I also know you're a Gordon Fellow,
yes.
Gordon Parks Fellow. So, what advice do you have for those who are trying to apply to different opportunities for they can how they can communicate their projects across whatever the application is to in order to be successful.
One thing that it taught me, first of all, fellow
Oh, sorry, your audio is cutting again.
is it better?
A little bit, yes.
Okay, sorry, probably the wind.
No,
Um,
you're fine.
one of the things I noticed is the fellowships I have received um, have not been through application. Um, it's helped I position me to be able to be in that in those situations where I might be invited is focusing more energy on um, figuring out ways to do the work that you want to do. And then when you do it, ensuring that it is in your local media, building relationships with journalists so that your work can have so that it can be documented and so that it has a because you never know anything about your uh, you never know the the relationship with uh, journalists can know how they talk about you or story that they've done. And so I really encourage, especially photographers, to um, build relationships with even just one reporter in your local media because what you can learn, and this was really important for me because I did not go to school for fine art photography. I never learned how to, to write or talk about my creative practice. These are terms and things I had to learn afterwards because I went to school for photojournalism. It's different terminology. It's very different than the word art that I uh, that requires applying to fellowships. So what helped me begin to learn about how to talk about my work, um, and then also how it's viewed in the larger public, is having local coverage of my work. And local coverage of my work didn't happen because, a reporter was like, "Oh, this is a great uh, project." Like I emailed them, or I um, hit them up on Instagram. I tweeted them like a media entity because they look for stories. They're overworked, and if you can share with them, um, a little bit about what you're doing, you think it's important, it's local, the reason that you're doing it. If you share just some of that information, then local coverage can become an important part of you understanding how to uh, speak about your work, how people might receive it. Really, it puts makes a difference for you to the people to possibly see your work. If
That is such Oh, sorry, it was cutting out a bit. But no, that is such a great idea and a good point. Especially I like your emphasis on local because I feel like people think, okay, they need to start with the New York Times or what. No, 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 no. You
no,
need
no,
to get
no.
people in your neighborhood, in your city to care about it first, to know you, to know your work. Thank you for that. That is such a great tip. My last question for you is, looking back, from your journey as an artist, as a Black woman, as an Englewood native, how do you see the work you've done shaping the future of socially engaged art in Chicago and maybe across the country? I honestly feel like it will inspire
Mhm.
others to do something similar in their cities.
Yeah, no, I hope so. Um, you know, is unique in the sense of um social practice art. That's the term. But before it was a term, it was being done by artists in Chicago. So there is a culture of that kind of artistic practice. We have the amazing Margaret Burroughs. We have Southside Community Art Center. These are institutions started by creatives of different mediums coming together to do work that impact change where they live. So luckily for us in Chicago, uh, we're we were able to have that as a reference point. We were able to build on that history, and hopefully we do Chicago the kind of that we do, the social practice art that we do will inspire them to know, yeah, you can build the same thing in your communities.
Mm.
And Chicago also has because we're a very segregated, large, major city, uh, you know, we've been confronting these issues collectively and individually for a long, long time. So that affords us the opportunity to innovate and experiment with different kinds of solutions, and so or interventions, if you will. So I hope all of this uh, deeply inspires uh, creatives, Black creatives all over the country, because all of this work done where we exist. It really needs to be unique and specific to that place and that community. Uh, but yeah, no, I really do hope that not only the creation that I see, but all of this attention around the work will inspire others, because that is how movements get created, and it's a really important part of movement building. Other people getting inspired, other people feeling empowered to know, oh, I want to do that uh, where I am, because you can, and I hope you do, and to know that whoever you're inspired by, they're people. You could reach out to them. Do not be afraid to email people, email a reporter, email like email if you want. Just do not be, because you never know. You never know.
Y'all hear that? If you're inspired by Tonika's work, email her. Get in touch with her. I love that. Tonika, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you are in the beautiful area of Jamaica and you deserve to get back to your
Yeah.
break, your self-care.
Thank
Any
you.
closing thoughts? Anything else you want to share with us before you go?
Uh, no, I appreciate you all. Well, I appreciate being a Nikon grant, BWP, a Nikon grant recipient, because that's definitely going to help me in the next projects. I've always wanted to print bigger, and there's limitations, especially when you of older photographer using an older camera, and you just get used to it. I don't wanna got off my lenses for this one. So I'm really excited to be able to use the equipment awarded to me by you all, and have it uh, be such a great tool for my next project that this fellowship will allow me to work on. So I just say to you all, you know, contact me if you have any questions. I live on Instagram. Feel free to DM me any questions you were not able to ask today. But stay inspired. Know you are brilliant. You are genius. You know what this world needs. You know what your neighborhood needs, because you are the embodiment and live in elite institutions. So just please know that. You're not.
You see, you don't need to wait for MacArthur to call you a genius. You need to believe that you already are one. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Oh my
And it's
goodness.
a community that reminds you that you are.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Tanika, thank you so much for sharing your vision, your truth, and especially your time with us.
Oh, no
You
problem.
know, your work is just truly a reminder that art is not just a mirror, and then it's a map for how we can imagine something better together. And I'm just so grateful for the work that you do. It's so crucial. It's so important. Thank you for
Thank
being a
you.
mascot for Inglewood. Thank you for
Yeah,
everything that you do to pour into other creatives. And
thank
I
you.
just curate joy, especially in moments now that we truly need it more than ever. And again, congratulations on being a MacArthur Genius Fellow.
Thank
Um,
you.
so excited for you. And so again, thank you so much for your time. And thank you to everyone who tuned in today for Tonika's Q&A, kicking off the 2025 BDP Summit, powered by Adobe Lightroom. We'll be back in 45 minutes with our next speaker. And so again, thank you, Tonika, so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.